Hello and welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. I am your host, Kamaria Richmond, and we have another great show for you today. So we are talking to Mr. Paul Adler, and we just had a great session, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the organization CLAW that he's the vice president of, and animal rescue. And so you are like the guru of animal rescue.
In a little fashion. So right. I guess in the last talk about Bowie Claw, we formed to have a shelter. We now have a holding facility where people in Bowie, if they lose their animals, dogs or cats, hopefully they're found by Bowie Animal Control, and they stay for 5 days before they go down to county, which is a good thing. And we talked about our pet assistance program, people that are having financial problems to keep their pets and
that's great.
With them, so that they don't have to worry about food. And a thing that I left out is any dog or cat that's in the pet assistance program, we pay for the spay and neuter, because, well, if you can't afford the pet you have, you don't want to have more. Now I have puppies. And we do that. We talked a little bit about the trap, neuter, release program that we have. And last year, I believe it was 238 that came under a county grant. Basically the state grant, an agricultural grant. This year, they gave us funding for 130 trap, neuter, release. And we've got around 30 so far.
That's great.
But we have other initiatives. We talked a little bit about the political, where we're against the breed-specific legislation, I think is the technical term, where we think that dogs should be evaluated. And I think if you look, you have a law, but in real life, the people that still are doing dog fighting and stuff, they don't pay attention to that. They still do their thing. What is hurting is people that'll come to the county. They have what we would consider a pit bull, and you could have pictures of 20 different dogs, and all completely different, but yet, well, that's a pit, that's a pit, that's a pit, that's a pit. You know what I mean? It's so broad what people think are pit bulls. And I'm not saying that there aren't dangerous pit bulls, but with a safer program where they test them, and if they test poorly, and that probably came from not being brought up correctly, what can you do? But I mean, when you have family pets and they love the children, and what was it? Our gang, that was a pit bull, and there's other different kinds of, it's kind of like yes, there are, other breeds, there's good and bad, and getting the bad ones out without harming all of that breed, I think is something to go with. But we also, Bowie Claw is kind of interesting because the members, they have like certain things that they may follow. Let's say like the community cats. Well, we have a lot of people that still work with the county shelter. And one of the things that we do is, we have like people that volunteer down there. They'll tell us that, hey, they need something that's not in their current budget. So it might not be something super expensive, but they can't just go out and buy it, like a little scale to measure the weight of a kitten. Or, we just got in these rabbits, but we don't really have something. So Bowie Claw, bought a cage, got other things there. When they opened up the new shelter back then, I believe there was a large number of what they call Kuranda beds, that so the dog doesn't have to sleep on the concrete, that it's off that, and they have like their own little bed. They're tough. They're if they bite through one thing, you can get the piece to replace, because it's kind of like a plastic pipe and stuff. So you can repair these guys. The community in October, we have a blanket drive, and it's really one day where you see so many people. You don't know these people, but they know that we're collecting blankets and towels and sheets for the animals in the shelter, and
That's amazing.
so many that we actually fill up a truck. We have bags and bags of donations that then we take to Prince George's animal management unit, and it's a great thing. Exit Realty Special Ed, he donated the truck so that we could use it for that day to fill it up and drive over there. And we're at T.J. Elliott's.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we're at
Okay.
we're at T.J. Elliott's. We've been doing it for years, and then we post the date like on our Facebook page. So much of what we do is on our Facebook page, and so we try to identify what do they need at the shelter that's outside their budget, and some things sound kind of odd, but we replaced all their cat litter pans with stainless steel ones that can be cleaned and sterilized and reused, whereas
That's
before,
important.
every time they have to
Right.
throw it out because you don't know if that particular cat maybe has worms, maybe has something else. You can't expose it to the next cat that comes in.
Right, right.
So this way they can sterilize these. They never have to worry about buying another one, and they're stainless steel. So there's like little scratching things that we supply to them where it's made. Instead of like you see these big scratching cheese, but these are made for cats that are in like a shelter, and they have like a small area, and they have the thing that they could scratch if they they're having a bad day or whatever it is. They have that scratching
Like
thing
when you
if
can scratch.
they need it, and so we try to help that too. And there's other smaller or individual initiatives. We'll talk about it at our general meeting. We have a general meeting coming up this Saturday, and so there's been like a number of things, some limited, some long-term, like the pet assistance program. We'll always have that, and we have a very good relationship with Prince George's Animal Control. We'll always have that. A lot of our members, like I am. On the weekends when the animals are at the holding facility that our local Bowie Animal Control picks up, we have like teams, and they'll contact us and say, hey, we've got this dog, and we need you to help over the weekend. So we'll go there 3 times a day, feed the dog or the cat. For the dogs, we'll take them out, walk, and if we have to clean up something, we'll do that. And so this way, the dogs get out, and then and most of us will usually spend some time socializing with the dogs, and then the cats, we clean the litter box and feed the cats, and just it's a scary thing for them. They're in a small place, they don't know where they are, why they're there, and some of the cats you kind of gauge it, and usually animal control will tell us, okay, well, this cat, maybe you shouldn't handle it, so we'll just, on the side, you can have access just to clean the litter box or whatever, or, put food in. So, but, I know for the dogs, you try to play with them, you try to get them to relax, and, take them for a walk, let them walk off some energy, and a lot of times you'll see that they come in scared. When you first see them, and the tail is tucked around, and they might be a little shaky, and over the course of time they start to relax a little bit, and then they start eating. They'll maybe get on your lap and stuff like that. So it's something that's a volunteer opportunity that the Bowie Animal Control. We could always add another team to the people that we have. So there are a lot of other things, little things, but I think in a community, a lot of little things sometimes adds up to something good.
Right.
And our focus is on animals. In Bowie, there's so many different kinds of volunteer opportunities, and this seems like a pretty good city where there is community involvement, and in so many ways. And whether it's the green team, there's people cleaning the streams and doing different things. It's good to do community stuff. I mean, when I worked full time, I worked overtime. I never thought of volunteering because I just worked a lot.
Right.
And I have a little bit more time now, and it's something that I like to do, you know, to help the animals, and so I do. But this is like the members of Bowie Claw. A lot of them, they're into different things as well, and so I'm involved in animal rescue and more specifically animal transport.
Okay.
So you might have dogs in certain rural shelters, like in North Carolina, is where I help a couple of shelters down there. And so they have more dogs and cats coming in than they have people to adopt them. So what do you do? And
Interesting.
yeah, so the people down there will put in pictures, we'll have them on Facebook. We try to assess the animal to see how they do with other, you know, dogs and stuff like that. Dogs and dogs, you know, is this cat friendly? Can you handle the cat and stuff? And then we try to find rescues. And if a rescue says, okay, well, we're interested in this dog or a cat, can you get them to us? And that's where the transport comes in. So.
And you're busy with the transport because you've been busy.
Yeah, today was a pretty, it was a pretty early day. We're here in Bowie. I drove down to Richmond, and I was the third part of this transport from North Carolina to the SPCA of Anne Arundel County in Annapolis. And so, you know, I picked up in Richmond, then got them there, and then they were able to. It was a mom and 5 pups, and
wow.
But we tend to do things at least once a week, and sometimes twice. And then I'm also part of other groups that do certain things. So like every other week I may help one particular rescue, but I just do a small part. I don't have to plan anything. Okay. I'll say I'm available. You know, if you need me to go from Alexandria to Baltimore, I can do it. And so it's kind of like helping locally, helping in the county. I've brought dogs that were in Prince George's Animal Control to rescues that were in Pennsylvania, rescues that were in like Fredericksburg. And then as you go further out, helping these animals get from North Carolina to rescues up we go as far as New Jersey, just in terms of like volunteers and stuff like that. And then occasionally, like maybe once a month or sometimes twice, I help some rescues that are helping dogs that are overseas, that fly into Dulles. And I don't know, sometimes you'd rather drive to Richmond than drive to Dulles, because you get there at 3, you have to wait an hour and something for customs, and now you're in the rush hour. And trying to get to a rescue, and you're stuck in this. But you know, you do it like maybe once a month, and you know, you get to meet the dog or dogs, and sometimes cats. And so you know, you bite the bullet, and you know, you do that.
And do what you have to do.
Yeah. I had the last one that I did. There were dogs going to 2 different rescues, and it was about, from when I left the house till I got home, about 7 hours. So. You know, it was a long, you know, and then you're in the rush hour traffic. You know how much fun that is.
Well, this area.
Yeah. So yeah, the Beltway is pretty bad, and but yeah, you know, and you help out, and it's kind of the way I look at it. There's animals in need, and wherever they are, I mean, you know, if I could help out.
I want to ask you about that. So in the county, do you find a lot of abused animals? Because you're an advocate, and your company is an advocate. Do you find a lot of that in the county?
Well, the very last dog that I drove, and this was actually just a few weeks ago, was a Chihuahua that had an embedded collar, but there was more than. So an embedded collar is, they have a collar, the animal gets a little bit bigger, but now it's too tight, and it's digging in.
Okay.
And they have to, you know, cut it off, and then you'll usually have like a ring of infection, and you know where the skin is. And but this dog had so much more of injury, and I mean, the pictures were very graphic. And then these were taken on intake. When I met it, it had already been getting some treatment while they were there, while it was there. And it was a very small dog. And, you wonder, how could this have happened?
Right.
I mean, in your mind, you're used to seeing like a large dog on a chain, and it's more common in other places, but you could find it in PG County. You can drive around, and you could find that. And but this dog was like in really bad shape. But they nursed it back to health. It still needs more. It still needs more work. But when I got to hold it and pass it off to the next person that met me in Fredericksburg, and they were going to take it to the rescue in Richmond. I mean, it was scared at first, but when we first started, but it seemed like it relaxed. Okay. And when I got it out of my crate to put in the next crate, I held it, and you could tell that it kind of put its head against me, and so you feel.
Yeah,
you feel good about that.
Feel better,
you don't enjoy the hour and a half drive, but then you got that little moment. That is like, okay, well, I'm good about it.
You're
so.
like, it's okay.
Yeah. So you're happy about doing that.
And that's interesting, because we were talking before we got started about going overseas. And is there a difference in animal welfare going overseas? I know here, in USA, people love their animals, their children almost. But when you go overseas and you find those pets and bring them over, is there something really different?
Well, I think if you're, let's say, living in Bowie, it would surprise you to see an animal just walking down the road. Because you'd start thinking, did it get lost or whatever? But there are foreign cities that you'll have dogs and cats everywhere, and some have, fairly good treatment. Others are treated very poorly, and it depends. Like, let's say in Turkey, they love their cats, and there's cats, all over the place. But in other places, of the places that I deal with, it's not the same, and it's. Bad things happen, but it's not only from bad people, but it's, certain animals are considered unclean. The way they're disposed of in that case is pretty brutal. And we have more than enough in our country of abuse, animal abuse, but they usually don't have the stamp of approval from any particular church or religious entity, where you may have that, like in Iran or something, where they will make statements and say, dogs can't be here, dogs can't be there, and it's it's a tough thing. I had a husky that came from Iran, and I later talked to the person, and it hurt their heart to give up this dog, but they were threatened that they were going to take this dog and kill it. And so he had to find a way to get that dog out of the country. And there was like a rescue group, and there was one in this country that agreed to accept it, because to bring them in, well, you have to already have the rescue in place. It's not like they come here and now what are you doing? That all has to be worked out, and because they need some place to go. And so, I had the dog. I fostered it for a few days, and then we actually had a pilot, Jason, that I met at the Bowie airport, and we flew together to New Jersey to bring the dog up there. And I mean, it was a really great dog, and the guy that had it, he said he originally got it because people were dragging it on a motorcycle. It was a puppy, and he was able to save the dog, and he had it for a couple of years. It took a long time to heal, and then he had to save the dog, so he had to give it up. So it's a different kind of mindset there, where we don't expect people to come to our house and take our animals.
Right.
But you have that in different places. So I don't want to make any blanket judgments. Right. But because there's good people everywhere. Right. But when you have that kind of law against you, then it's. So these are dogs that people get together it's not cheap to get a dog from overseas here. They have to do certain kinds of vetting, American vetting.
Okay.
Just getting a crate might cost hundreds of dollars, a plane ticket to send them over. And they'll come over with something
Ah,
called a flight buddy. And so they're responsible on, on paper, the animals will have little passports. Yes,
interesting.
and
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it has like their shot records and all this other stuff, and then they'll bring them over. We'll get the paperwork, and then we'll get the dogs and cats to the rescues that pull them. So, but it's a very small of the rescues that we do.
Okay.
I'd say if it's 1%, I'd be surprised. I mean, it's
Okay.
very small because it's a big expense to do that.
Yeah.
And there's things in other places where Korea or other places where they'll eat animals, and there are people that try to rescue them, and different groups that from different countries, whether it's like Taiwan or here, to get them out of that. And so it's a tough thing. I mean, it's if you love animals, there's a lot
Right.
of pain going around the world. There's
Right.
there's things. So but so I try to help whoever I can help, whether it's here in the county, or if they say, "Hey, Paul, can you go to the airport?" Okay,
Yeah, you're like,
I'll do it.
I can go
Yeah,
any place. I'll do it.
I'm retired now, so I'll go ahead and do it, and so.
And what about volunteers and donations?
Well, Bowie Claw, we basically can do our programs like the Pet Assistance Program through donations. And we
Okay.
have, recently we had somebody send boxes of cat food. We made a post, our last month we got pretty much 44 cats. I mean, that's a lot of food.
That's a lot of food.
And we tend to do well with people donating dog food. A little less so with cat food. We were very fortunate to get a nice donation from Dr. Elsie's that makes kitty litter. And so we haven't had to spend on that. But
Okay.
basically, we see what we have. We kind of like the people that are getting everything. We see what they need. Okay, well, we don't have this, so we make a list, and then we have to go out and buy it. So we have, our webpage. We have fundraisers through Facebook. We have different events. This Sunday we have an event at Calvert Brewery for St. Patrick's Day, and we have these children, the Hunt School, where they do the Irish dancing, and we did it last year, and it was fantastic. I mean, you're proud of these kids because they do a great
Right.
job, and you're having beers. There's somebody taking some Polaroids. You take a picture with a funny hat on with your dog. And people bring their dogs to the Calvert Brewery, and we do like different events, whether it's take a picture with Santa Claus. And so we try to raise money, and then also through Amazon Smile. People do it through other different things. A CFC campaign. We have people donating at work. They'll sign up on the CFC Bowie Claw. And then there's just straight donations. We'll get either PayPal, or somebody will send a check, and so it's been enough to keep us going. And as long as we have community support and community volunteers for the different things we do, then we'll continue to try to help the animals here in Bowie and help in the county as well.
Right, and some of the surrounding counties as well.
Right. Well, we're focused kind of like for a pet pantry here in the city.
Okay.
We have some people that have, let's say, been in the city. Now they're living someplace else, not far away. So it's not like here's the line, but primarily it's here in the city. Because if you look at the county, I mean. I'm sure the numbers could be extremely high to try to run a county-wide pet assistance program, and it's something that has a lot of value. I don't know if there's a way to get something set up that would be through the county shelters. Somebody comes and it's like, hey, I'm turning this dog in because I just can't afford it. I lost my job. Well, that would be a good spot to say, hey, well, you don't have to do this. We have food. You have to do some vetting to make sure that you're eligible for this. But to keep that dog or cat from having to go into the shelter, and something like that could be set up countywide. I know there's some volunteer efforts towards that, but if something that had the blessing, let's say, of the county, and some money set aside to do that, I mean, it would be a great thing. I'm sure it's a very needed thing. There's a lot of seniors, in Prince George's County that might need some help. Things and things change in your life. I mean,
Right.
and you might need a little help for a few months, and then get through that, and then and then maybe you come back and pay it forward and volunteer, to do something. So that's the dream world.
And that's great. I mean, you can always use volunteers.
Oh yes. Because even with the pet assistance program, the amount of families that we have doesn't seem like a lot. 44 cats. 18 dogs, but to separate everything into, everybody gets this, then to hand it out when they come, to pick up on pickup days. Some people need to have it delivered to their house because they don't have a car. They could be unable to drive. So, there's always room for, people to help out. And and that's, if that's something that you are interested in, then that's a good thing to, that's we can use you.
Yeah.
So, and, volunteers, I mean, there's so many, in so many aspects, there's so many things you could volunteer for, good things, whether it's helping a child read, cleaning up, streams, or there's so many good things that you could get involved with, that whatever touches your heart. And if animals do, then, we can certainly use your help.
You guys can use them. We have a couple seconds left. Tell everyone how they can get in touch with Claw. You have a great Facebook page and a great website.
Right,
so
and,
the best way.
That's primarily the way to do it.
Okay.
Most people are on social media. If not, if they have a computer, they can contact us through our, our webpage.
Okay.
And if you just Google Bowie Claw, Bowie Citizens for Local Animal Welfare, it'll come up, and that's kind of the way things go. Come to our meetings. We have meetings every other month, general meetings. We usually have donuts and coffee. I mean, if only for that, that's a good reason to go. But and we're member driven. If there's things that it's not like all our initiatives are set in stone and we can't do something else. So if people are interested in, hey, let's do this, let's work on that, and we have people that can do it, we could, we have enough donations to afford it. So,
I'll see you next time.
Nope. Bye.
It went extra quick.